I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only got one thing on my mind. You got me stuck on the thought of you. You're making me feel brand new. You're more than a sunshine in my eyes. I'm feeling like this might be my time to shine with you, with you, with you. I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes.
Hi, welcome to In the Middle and Out of the Box, episode 8. I still can't believe we're at episode 8 already. I did want to start with just doing a couple follow ups to some of the topics that we discussed in prior episodes because there have been some updates. So, first, I want to talk about EV charging. We had talked about this in episode 4, where I went into really specifics about what each town is doing and how many EV chargers they have and what the regulations are. Well, Boca just came out with some updates, and I just want to briefly go through them because they're really important. They were just approved. So, basically, what they're doing is increasing the amount of EV charging spaces that new developers or new buildings have to have. They've also increased the type of building that has to have these spaces. It's not just residential or multifamily, it's also commercial and so forth, multifamily. In addition to that, they've categorized it by 3 ways. So we have EV capable, EV ready, and an actual EV installed space. So basically, I think I mentioned also in that episode 4 that there was a new condo development up in West Palm that had already put all EV ready with the wires and conduit and everything in the grounds and ready to go. They just had to put the chargers, and there was a lot of people that had paid for the additional amount for just the actual charging to actually get connected before they moved in. So Boca has put 3 categories now, so developers understand what EV capable, EV ready, and EV charging is. So that's fantastic. They've also made it instead of 5% only EV, it's 35% of parking spaces, and they've based it on categories. So 5% have to be actually EV installed spaces, EV ready has to be 10%, and 20% can be EV capable. Again, they're all wired. It's just a matter of what length and as far as how finished they are. So 35% of parking spaces now have to be EV compatible. This puts them way up as far as other towns and other requirements. I think the closest one to them is Coral Gables, which is actually a little bit higher than them. But again, Orlando, Miami-Dade, a lot of other counties are getting on board with this, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. A lot of it has to do with the growth in the market. So by 2030, electrical vehicles are to represent 30% of the market. I think I talked about this already, that there's so many manufacturers that are no longer going to be making regular fuel cars anymore. And in addition to that, this graph kind of shows how many models there'll be available. So by 2025, there'll be 81 models available. This is very fast moving. Their expectation of how many people would be going to EV is beyond what they expected, and it's just taken off. So this is something that Boca is on, and they're making changes quickly. They've also seen what high levels of EV adoption are in Boca Raton and Palm Beach County in general. Supposedly, as of the end of 2021, that number doubled, the 9673, to double. So it's amazing how much this has taken off. If you look at some of the red sections there, you do have a little part of Delray, you have Highland Beach, you also have Delray along Barrier Island. So again, there's also out in the western portion of Delray. So, this is happening. You got to jump on the train and get on it. And so kudos to Boca. Here's really something very quick, and I alluded to this before. I think it was in that episode about how much more cost effective it is to actually do ready and EV capable during the building process rather than having to go back and retrofit, right? So EV capable is a $300 bill for the developer or the builder. To retrofit it is $2,500. EV ready is $1,300. To retrofit it is over $6,000. So again, going back is always going to be more expensive. So this is something that everybody's changing on, everybody's coming on board with, the developers, the builders, and so it's important to see it happening. And I'm glad that Boca's really taking the lead on this. Something interesting that just happened, though, too, is one of the big oil companies, Shell, is starting to make the transition also. They just purchased one of the largest EV charging operators, Volta, for $169 million. So I think they're starting to see kind of the writing on the wall, and now they're transitioning and actually acquiring and diversifying into EV and charging and everything else. So that in itself is a transition. So that's important to note that if the oil companies themselves are changing and starting to diversify into this, that everybody needs to kind of get on board. So I'm glad that Boca did this. Kudos to them. We need to get Delray and Highland Beach up to speed. They're really lagging behind as far as even before this change. So if we can try to hopefully, I've sent this to numerous commissioners. I've sent this to the mayor in Boca. I've sent this to some commissioners in Delray. So if we can try to get things going here, that would be great. So just a great follow up to the EV program. This I put this out the beginning, I think it was of December, the end of November, and this happened now. So it's great to see. Another thing that happened was the Wildflower Park I talked about adding a food venue. They have all this beautiful seating and picnic tables and an eating area that's covered with lots of tables to it, but they were missing a food venue, even if it's just a temporary food venue. I think I went into some options and so forth. Next thing I know, I get something about they're going to try to test the waters a little bit with Food Truck Fridays at Wildflower Park. So again, I'm so glad that I sent this out to a bunch of people that are in the commissions and so forth, because it seems like some of this stuff is starting to happen. So that was really glad. I'm so glad to see this. So again, whether it works or not, again, it's just an idea. This isn't kind of really the idea I was looking for, but again, I think it was one of the options we did talk about. So again, even if they're just testing the waters, kudos to them. Great job. All right, so I want to get into what we're going to be talking about today. And today's topic is fun traffic. So there's been a couple issues. First of all, Boca is going into their diverging diamond. So I kind of want to go over that because that's happening this week. And then the second thing is I want to talk about a very severe accident that happened in Delray coming west over the bridge, the Atlantic Avenue Bridge. And I kind of want to go into that in depth. So I'm going to just touch on the diverging diamond a little bit and go over some information on that. And so let's start with that. So the first thing I want to do is a lot of people are asking me, well, why are we getting this diverging diamond? Why do we have to have a diverging diamond? Okay, so I'm going to read this to you so that hopefully I can get it word for word because I want to be very specific. Again, why do we have to have a diverging diamond? So a diverging diamond interchange is a simple design innovation that improves safety and mobility, often at a much lower cost compared to conventional interchange designs. The key to what makes a diverging diamond work so well is how left turns are handled. A diverging diamond interchange allows two directions of traffic to temporarily cross to the left side of the road. It moves high volumes of traffic through an intersection without increasing the number of lanes and traffic signals. This movement provides easier access to an interstate. So basically, from what I gather from this, it's obviously a less expensive way or method to push a large amount of traffic through an interstate type of pattern. It also helps down on the left turn signals and just moving traffic in a more efficient manner without actually having to do more expensive interchanges that we see like down in Fort Lauderdale and Miami and so forth. So let's all give it a try, right? Let's see what happens. I'm hoping everyone's going to get used to this. And I know how we all do so well with change around here. So I'm sure after a while it's going to be old hat to us and we'll be fine. But again, it's just a new thing. So let's try to figure it out. I did want to go over some of the things that they did say to kind of give us a little bit of heads up. They say do slow down as you approach the new interchange, right? Because you're not used to it. It's going to have a different traffic pattern. So this isn't the time to be speeding over the bridge at Glades. Do obey the traffic signals like you would on every other road. Make sure you're looking for them. Do follow the overhead signage and pavement markings. I'm sure they're going to make sure that there's a proper signage and everything else. Don't approach the new interchange at a high rate of speed. The new traffic pattern will be different than what you're used to, with the current westbound traffic becoming the new eastbound direction. Don't rely on your GPS to provide accurate directions. So again, if your GPS is telling you to go straight, don't do that, okay? Follow the actual road signage and traffic signals that are on the road. So anyway, so I just wanted to kind of go over that. I thought it was really interesting to because I know a lot of people are asking, what was the purpose behind this? What is this going to do? And so I just wanted to make sure I had an answer for you guys. So let's see what happens. Let's give it a chance, right? Okay, now moving on, I do also have, before we move on, I'm sorry, I do have a video that I want to show you. So it kind of really goes into a little bit of what's going to happen, and you can actually visualize yourself in the car. So watch it for the next couple minutes. It's only a couple minutes. I know everybody's busy, but I just think it's really worth it to kind of get a taste of what to expect when you go over the diverging diamond. And I'll see you on the other side.
The Florida Department of Transportation, in partnership with Prince Contracting and WSP, is bringing exciting and impactful changes to the I-95 Glades Road interchange. Together, we are designing and constructing a divergent diamond interchange, or DDI, to replace the existing partial cloverleaf. FDOT considered several alternatives for this project and selected this solution because it improves overall traffic operations, enhancing safety for motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians. The primary benefit of the DDI is the seamless ingress and egress to and from the interstate. A DDI works by shifting traffic to the left side through the interchange, eliminating left turns against oncoming traffic, reducing the more serious accidents typically associated with turning movements. Signalized crossing lanes, positioned on each side of the interchange, facilitate the smooth flow of traffic, reducing delay times and minimizing conflict points. Now, let's look specifically at how traffic moves through the DDI at the Glades I-95 interchange. Traffic traveling westbound along Glades Road crosses over, diverging to the left side of the road, then crosses back to the right side of the road beyond the interchange. These crossovers are controlled by traffic signals. Similarly, traffic traveling eastbound experience the same series of movements. To enter I-95 southbound, vehicles traveling south along Airport Road will merge with westbound traffic on Glades Road, then merge left to make the easy turn onto the southbound entrance ramp. Vehicles traveling north along 15th Avenue will turn left onto Glades Road and access the I-95 southbound entrance ramp in a similar fashion. Accessing northbound I-95 from northwest 15th Avenue, vehicles turn left onto westbound Glades Road and merge right for easy entry to the highway. Pedestrians and cyclists will also enjoy the many benefits of this innovative design. Dedicated multi-use lanes and crosswalk signals make it easier and safer for all users navigating their way through the interchange. The DDI at the I-95 Glades Road interchange is an innovative and impactful solution to contemporary transit needs, designed to decrease travel time, increase safety, and improve mobility for the comprehensive variety of travelers to and through the area.
Okay, traffic and safety. This is Delray. This is coming down from the Atlantic Avenue Bridge, heading west. And there was a huge accident here on, I think it was New Year's Eve. And again, I'm not going to get into politics. I'm not going to get into whose fault it was. My issue is going over the road. Okay, so I did talk about Vision Zero. I think that was really important. I think that was also in episode 4, if I'm not correct, if I remember correctly. And Vision Zero, for those of you that didn't take the time to look at what Vision Zero is really important. I know I put it out there a bunch on Facebook and the internet, and I just hope people take the time to look at it. It's something that's really important. It's a state initiative, it's a county initiative, and it's a town initiative that really should have been done a long time ago, not only in Delray, but also in Boca. I know Boca has that as one of their initiatives for their strategic plan this year, is to work on their Vision Zero strategies and get the roads going. So I just want to kind of go over what the situation is in this Atlantic Avenue corridor bridge. So first thing is, we have the grade coming down, and there's really no place to cross. There's no place to really cross the street here to get over to Veterans Park, or vice versa, to get over to Deck 84, or under the bridge, over the bridge cafe. And so basically, we are kind of at a standstill. How do people cross the road? And I know myself, I have done it many times, and it's not easy. It's very dangerous. There isn't really a crosswalk until you get much further down in the road. So that's one of the issues there, is it's not pedestrian friendly. There's no way to really cross the road here. The second is you're coming down with the grade from the bridge. So when cars are coming up over the bridge, they're not seeing you until the last minute. That's why if there was a crosswalk, it would have to be much further down, closer to the cafe there. And so this way it gives cars time to stop or slow down if people are in the crosswalk. Now, again, I'm just taking this one slide from my Vision Zero episode. Just again, no, this is not Delray. This is just an example of what Vision Zero is, and about how everybody on the street is marked where they belong, where they're supposed to be. Pedestrians, cars, buses, bicycle lanes, and so forth. So everybody knows their space, and everybody understands where they're supposed to be. So again, that's the difference between the left and the right. And this would be something that Vision Zero would really help in this corridor, because if there was a crosswalk further down, at least it would be properly marked and so forth. And again, in episode 4, I got through as far as what really needs to happen in a crosswalk, as far as lighting and flashing, and how the methods that we're using right now are kind of antiquated. So I just wanted to again go over what really Vision Zero is for those of you that haven't looked at it. I think it's episode 4. Okay, something interesting that I dug up was that this Marine Way was originally back in 2019, was approved for a contract, $1.1 million design contract. And they came back with raising the seawalls, putting a promenade there, and improvements to the road. And for some reason, I guess it was a $10 million, it was going to be paid for by the penny tax money. For some reason, that was never really done. And based on what it says there was a redesign of the higher seawall promenade connecting Veterans Park to Marine Way through an underpass beneath the Atlantic Avenue Bridge, a stormwater pump station, road and utility upgrades, and pedestrian lighting. So this would have been a really great upgrade. It looks like it was designed well, and it didn't really happen the way it was supposed to just be designed. And I guess there was a lot of controversy or problems with the homes along Marine Way. So I want to get into that for a moment. Looking at the homes on Marine Way and reading some of the back, I guess you want to call them news stories from that whole era where they were going to be doing this upgrade, it seems like a lot of people on Marine Way didn't want that done. They didn't want seawalls. They felt like that was their property, the docks. They felt like that was eminent domain if they were going to take it away from them. But looking at the actual county map and plot map, it doesn't look like that property is deeded to them across the street. So again, you have the easement of the street, and then you have people that have put docks there. And this gets into, the whole thing again about, when we allow things like this to happen, there's going to be repercussions down the road, right? So no pun intended. So basically, now that people have docks there, they feel it's their property when it's really not their property, according to the town assessor's map. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but based on what I pulled up, these are the plot maps, and where the property starts and ends. So now that they have docks there, they feel it's theirs. And this kind of goes along with what we've talked about, even with Vision Zero on A1A, and how everybody's kind of encroached upon the easements there and landscaped and put driveways and things like that. I mean, there's got to be some kind of enforcement on what these easements are what were for originally. And now that people have done that, they now feel it's theirs when it's really not, according to the tax assessor's map. So I got this picture of the original road. And if you see the original road, it kind of looks very similar to, I'm going to go back, very similar to what the plan was initially with this design contract, right? You have a road that leads up. In this case, they were going to put an underpass, and they were going to connect the two parks, or the park and the road, and they were going to have a promenade, and they were going to raise seawalls because this area floods constantly. The pump station was going to be lifted and so forth. So the original road doesn't have docks, okay? And it goes all the way through, and I guess it goes up and around over the bridge. So basically, you're coming up at a grade, and you're going to be turning into the bridge or turning left. So there was no underpass or anything like that as far as the road's concerned. But what's important here to note is there's no docks. So those docks were not there originally. And they're city property as far as I'm aware. In addition to that, if you go all the way down, Deck 84 wasn't there either. So let's take a look at that. So let's look at what happened now, right? So not only do we have docks that are behind us, we can't see them across the street from many of the homes, but we also now have somehow, I don't know how, but waivers happened, and Deck 84 now is built out into the easement. They got permission to build out into the easement. This used to be a road, right? So when we go back again to what the road looks like, there was no Deck 84 out on the road. So they got easements, they got waivers. Not really sure how that happened. But again, there's repercussions to doing these types of things, because now what we have is basically a dead end street with a restaurant over into the easement. Now just a walking sidewalk up to this point, and now we don't really have a connection. So I want to show what we have. At the end of Deck 84, we have a left walkway and a right walkway. Now, after this accident, everyone said, oh, but there's a walkway under the bridge. Okay, there's no signage. And from what I understand, it's very dark. There's a lot of people, homeless people, peeing and everything everywhere. I don't know. So, I mean, this is probably not the ideal situation for this part to connect the two sides of the street. This has to be improved in some way. But now that all of this waivers and zoning and everything else has been changed here, it's going to be difficult, right? So let's forget the cars at this point, because I don't think we can get back that land at this point. Even if you want to make it a walkway through to the other side that's better suited for walking and lighted and opened and so forth. One of the things that Boca just did with their park that goes under the underpass is they opened up everything underneath, paved it, lighting, and so that it's an open kind of airway walk through underneath the underpass on the way up to the grade to the bridge. So this is a good example of, landscaping, lighting, paving, pavers, making it more of a safe area to walk, and some signage would be helpful. And so this is a good example of what could be done. And if you really look at Del Rey, you can see that there is room to go straight from the walking path underneath and dig out the grade and make a nice open walkway for people to be able to cross over without having to cross the street. So again, there's two separate issues here, or two solutions, I should say. One is that you can go back and you can put a crosswalk type of situation down by Under the Bridge Cafe, and make sure it's a Vision Zero, very bright light, flashing lights across the whole street. Make sure that it follows Vision Zero strategies, and you could do it that way, or they could do it the way Boca did it, but how they originally planned to do it, which I don't know again how that went off the rails. But I go back to kind of what the original plan was, which is make a underpass that's a walkway that's actually user friendly. So again, this would be a great model. And this again is not, this is the whole point of this is not a competition. This is, let's see who's doing it better, and let's just try again, not to recreate the wheel. Again, strengths and weaknesses in both towns. Everybody's equal here. So if Boca's doing it better this way, maybe we can use them as a template, right? So again, not having to recreate the wheel, this would be a great alternative to use for getting under that bridge before the bridge hits as far as the grade. So perfect situation, two solutions. But again, it kind of just reemphasizes again how we could go from this original road to this. Okay, so again, there's repercussions to all these exceptions and waivers and variances and zoning changes and everything else. You get into a situation where sometimes things just don't make sense. This Deck 84 should have never been put this close, especially with all the flooding and everything else. And therefore, you would have still had a road, an access point, right? So that you could connect the two parcels under the bridge. So again, something to food for thought. And okay, so what I wanted to talk about as far as an out-of-the-box idea today, if we're talking about traffic, one of the things that I notice that is really happens a lot and really backs up traffic a lot in three different directions. Actually going east on Atlantic Avenue at the T of A1A, gets backed up, going north on A1A and south on A1A. And what's happening is there's so many people, Ubers and people or parents or whatever, dropping their kids off in front of the Bostons, in front of Luna Rosa, in front of the Sand, or I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the bar type thing over there. But anyway, and they just stop in the middle of the road or stop on the side of the road and let everybody get out, or the Uber lets everybody get out, and that traffic just builds up quickly. I mean, that's a very heavily congested intersection there, T section. So, I mean, one thought I thought of is out of the box is, we own that property. Delray owns that property there where they have the flagpole. Why not put a nice half semicircle cut through there as a drop-off point, right? So if people want to drop off in that immediate area there between Luna Rosa, Boston, Opal, whatever, and go to the beach, whatever, there's a drop-off point. Right now, there is no drop-off point, right? It's just the side of the road, stopping and letting everybody out. Again, whether it's Uber or whatever, it doesn't matter. So if we would pave right past the pavilion and go behind the flagpole and then an exit point on the other side of that, this would be a great drop-off point, right? It's paved, it gets you off the main drag, enough to just drop off real quick, and that's it. Now, that comes with a caveat though, right? So in order to retrain residents or retrain visitors or whatever, you would have to have enforcement. You'd have to have enforcement for probably a period of time to get people out of the habit of dropping off in front of those other places I just mentioned. So you'd have to have police, you'd have to have a good presence there, you'd have to be redirecting to the drop-off point. You'd have to be making sure people are utilizing that drop-off point to the point where they get used to it, right? So again, it might take a couple months, but a heavy enforcement will change the behavior of the residents to know that that is the drop off point. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, but it's across the street. Well, yeah, but there's two crosswalks right there, right? So they're lighted, they're signals. Again, so you have a safe crosswalk there, but at least you're getting out of the traffic, right? That's the whole thing, is to keep everything flowing, keep it going. So that's my out of the box idea. Here's it from a different perspective. So you're coming in from right north of the pavilion, and you're going around the flagpole, and then you're coming out and exiting behind that other utility pole there. And it would give you enough space for a couple cars to drop off and just exit onto the road. So getting that traffic to go is important, especially in that T intersection there. It's a mess constantly. Again, just looking down the other side, just your drop off point would already start there to the on the left hand side there where your pavilion is, before the utility pole, and just come in behind the flagpole. So that is where the congestion usually is, but again, it affects every other road that's leading there. Again, even just Atlantic, it affects people making a right turn can't right, people going straight can't go straight, going south. So that's my out of the box idea. I hope it's a good idea. I hope people like it. Again, it would just take a little bit of behavior changing and reinforcement, but it would work as far as trying to keep things going once everybody actually starts doing it. Okay, so today we have a bunch of science and technology. I'm trying to keep it a little shorter, so I'm going to just go right into science and technology. We all have seen in the past robots and how things are, working, and we're all getting excited. Eventually, there'll be robots and this and that. And this was an update of showing kind of where the technology is at this point. So I just kind of thought it was interesting. It just came out, and I wanted to just show the video and get your thoughts as far as kind of let everybody kind of see where we're at as far as the technology of robots. So here it is, and I hope you enjoy it.
I forgot my tools again. Such a show off.
Okay, and next thing is science technology, macro, micro, and nano plastics, right? This is becoming a huge problem, right? And what really kind of stopped me for a second was this person in Hawaii just taking a scoop of sand that looked like every other sand on the beach, right? Nothing, you don't see large pieces of plastic or anything, and just sifting it. And it's amazing the amount of plastics that are categorized macro, micro, nano into this sifter. It was just amazing to me. And I'm saying, wow, I mean, I can imagine, what's in the beach, right? So in the water and so forth. I'm going to show you the video, and then I'll meet you on the other side.
This is what we see when we visit white sandy beaches in Hawaii.
Okay, so again, I hope that was as shocking to you as it was to me. Again, science and technology, this is falls under macro, micro, and nano. One of the things I talked about in episode 6 was the water plant. Now, I hope you took the time to actually really focus and sit and watch that, because it's huge. It's so important. There's so many new technologies. One of them is a nano filter. But in addition to that, there's now a fourth step that a lot of water plants are not doing, and that is filtering for micro or nanoparticles of plastic. So that takes an additional step, just like it takes an additional step if you have a lot of organic matter. If you're taking from one of the higher up aquifers, you have an additional step you need to put onto your water plant. Well, now there's another step, which is filtering actually for nanoparticles, invisible particles of plastic. So that's huge. That's really important again for people or towns that are coming up to building new water plants. I know Boca just built theirs, something they might want to add on to, but I know Delray is thinking of theirs. So this is just another issue that they need to think about as far as the nanoparticles of plastic, because they're in the water stream or in our drinking water and so forth. So that beach sifting really kind of hit home for me. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So okay, so this is something interesting. I was doing the whole getting my presentation together for the walking and walking across the street without a crosswalk. And lo and behold, this pops up. And Quebec has put this billboard up at a bus stop to raise awareness about jaywalking, right? Everyone says don't jaywalk. Well, I think the problem there is no crosswalk. So, and not for a long time. So, at one of the intersections further on down the road. So, a lot of people are jaywalking, right? Whether it's right, wrong, again, I'm not getting into that. But what I thought was interesting is that this popped up. So, I just wanted to kind of show you what Quebec is doing to kind of scare people from jaywalking, right? But if we're going to not jaywalk, we have to have other solutions for them. We can't just say don't jaywalk. You have to provide them with something to do instead of jaywalking, right? A solution, which I went over. There's two solutions. So anyway, watch this video and let me know what you think. Okay, so that was a little intense, I know, but I guess it gets the point across. So anyway, okay, the next thing is a dining experience. Okay, so now this is really interesting. This seems to be a really big trend coming. I've shown a couple of these now in some of the episodes in Science and Technology. All about this, projection type of dining experience. I think I've shown two or three, or one or two, I'm sorry. Well, this is the third one. Now, this is a little bit different. This is more of an interactive experience. So I just wanted to kind of show you what's kind of still trending and coming on. So one of the local restaurants that I know of that kind of has something similar to this is in Meisner Park, POW, where they kind of have, projections along the walls and things like that. But that's probably the closest that we have something locally. But again, now with Brightline, you should be able to take this down to Fort Lauderdale and Miami. So again, I just want to show you kind of another on trend for dining experience. All right, hope you enjoy it. Okay, so now in Boca and Delray, we all have a lot of gates, a lot of homes that have gates, and this is kind of the newest trend in gates. So I thought it was kind of interesting to see kind of where the technology is going for. It was kind of interesting because I've never seen a gate like this. That's kind of a fan. So just thought it'd be interesting to show. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, what's neat about that gate also is that it can be controlled Bluetooth with your phone. Um, right as you're leaving, going, coming. It's very easily usable. So I thought that was kind of neat too. The Bluetooth technology is entered into that. Okay, the next thing is there is a Tron roller coaster. Now, this looks very familiar to me. I'm not sure where this is exactly, but this looks kind of interesting, like the rock and roller coaster they used to have at MGM Grand, where you go 0 to 60. I think it's like in 3 seconds or something. And so this is kind of interesting. It's kind of a little different take on a roller coaster. You're actually kind of sitting on a uh, motorcycle shaped seat, leaning over forward. So kind of interesting. But anyway, so here's a new roller coaster. Hope you enjoy it. 3、2、1。 Okay, so next for those spa people, if you like spas, I do, I love spas. This is a new immersion spa technology where you're kind of going into different weather and patterns and environments, and it's kind of adds a little bit of a twist to a spa. So again, I thought this was something new, something I know a lot of people here like to spa, so I thought I'd show this. It's kind of neat to see. Okay, so this week, art. So this is really an interesting piece. It's a very abstract piece while you're standing back behind, looking at it far away. But actually, when you get close to it, it's got a little bit of a different look to it. So I just wanted to kind of start off by saying this is our first piece of art, and I hope you like it.
It doesn't look like anything until you come around here to this hole and look through it, and it's a horse. That is so cool.
Okay, I've seen a couple of these popping up, so I wanted to kind of show them. The natural and unique products that are used in art. Art can be in any form. So here's a beautiful sculpture that's made out of grasses and wood and twigs. So I just wanted to show that. Here's a great gorilla made out of pencils to mimic the texture. I thought that was a unique perspective. I know there's an artist locally that shows pencil art made out of pencils also. Nothing like this, but actually pictures that have texture on them made out of pencils. So it reminded me of that local artist. I'm sorry, the name slips me at the moment. But I just thought this was really interesting to see as far as the texture aspect of it. And then I always go back to my historic homes and how, architecture itself is really art, right? So this is amazing to me, the transformation, how this building was basically just falling apart and was able to be reconstructed and restored. And to me, that's a work of art. I love these historical buildings. They're so important to keep. And when I came across this, I said, oh, I've got to put this in our art for this week. And then last but not least, I think this is our last piece of art. I had posted this in Delray Matters and the group that I post a lot in. And I just thought this is a great suggestion. Delray is very into art and hopefully will be coming more into art and sculptures and things like that. And it's amazing the quality and the talent that's out there. I mean, to look at how this picture looks like it was transformed into a train car, subway car, whatever. It's just incredible. You can barely see next to that column how it's mirroring, and actually it's a wall. But overall, it's just incredible the talent that we have out there and that we should be utilizing. There's so many artists that would love to show their craft and sculptures. Doesn't matter what kind of art. So. And that's it for this week. So I hope you have a great week. I hope a lot of you learned a lot about what's going on with our diverging diamond and some solutions to the traffic issue in Delray and also an out-of-the-box idea for Delray. So hopefully we will see you next week. Please comment again at In the Middle. bdh@gmail.com. I'd love to hear more comments. Please send these and share this with your friends, your neighbors. The more we get out there, the more we'll still be here. So thanks so much.
Audio Jungle.